Hi everyone, it's Miss Wilson here. So this is a lesson on fiction writing, continuing with our dystopian fiction writing. And today we're going to be focusing on narrative sentences. So we're going to be working towards adding a character into our pieces of dystopian writing. We're going to look at the difference between descriptive writing and narrative writing. So if you haven't already done the previous lessons on dystopian fiction writing, you need to go back and do those now, because by the end of this video, I would like you to have woven some narrative sentences into your opening descriptions so that the work you've already done now introduces a character, so you'll need to do the previous work first. So hello today, how can I use narrative sentences in dystopian writing? And what we're going to do is continue working on our dystopian fiction, and we're going to have a look at the differences between narrative and descriptive writing. So first of all, there's a couple of pieces of key vocabulary that I would like you to build into your work today. The first adjective is derelict. So a place or building that is derelict is empty and in a bad state of repair because it has not been used or lived in for a long time. So that's going to be really key for dystopian writing because we're describing settings that are abandoned, that aren't particularly pleasant. So derelict is a really good adjective to use here. The second one is squalid. So if we're describing a place as squalid, then we mean that it's dirty, untidy, and in bad condition. So again, for dystopian fiction writing, this is going to be a key adjective. So in my example, I've managed to use them both in, is as she walks through the derelict city, she was shocked by how squalid it appeared. So pause the video here and have a go. You can write two separate sentences, or you can use both adjectives in one sentence like I've done. Okay, good. So when we're writing sentences within creative writing, there are two main types of sentence that we use. The first one is a descriptive sentence. When we use our descriptive sentences, we're writing descriptions, and what we're doing is focusing on the setting of the scene and adding detail. So we might be describing a place. So, for instance, I might say the building was, I'll use one of our key vocabulary words here, the building was derelict. So what I'm doing here is I'm setting the scene, I'm adding detail, I'm describing that scene as something. In this case, I've chosen derelict. The difference between using descriptive and narrative is that when I'm using narrative, I'm focusing on a character and what is happening. So this is when I am doing narration, I'm describing what's happening. So I might say she walked carefully into the wreckage. So again, if I'm focusing on dystopian fiction, I'm not going to be talking about particularly pleasant environments. My character is going to be doing something or going somewhere that's not particularly welcoming. So description, you're describing, you're setting the scene, but when you're doing a narrative sentence, you're focusing on the character and their actions. So what you're going to want to use for your narrative sentence is lots of verbs describing what your character is doing. So for my example, I've been using utopia, which is the opposite of dystopia, which is what you're doing. So utopia is that kind of dream, paradise, perfect society. Dystopia is a broken, nightmarish society. So what we're going to do first of all is we're going to practice descriptive and narrative writing. So we're going to brainstorm now some verbs to show what our characters might be doing. So for mine, in Utopia, my character might be doing something like sunbathing, enjoying that beautiful scenery. My character might be deep in thought, so my character might be thinking. My character might be relaxing. So your characters are going to be doing very different things because it's a very different environment. Watching. Let's see. Studying. And when I'm doing Utopia, there's a real sense of relaxation, happiness here. So I might even use verbs like smiling and laughing to really capture my character's mood. We're also going to do some noun phrases and expanded noun phrases to really look at that sensory description. So this is going to be our descriptive writing. So for me, I might say, and I might describe my character here with noun phrases. So I'm gonna describe mine as a woman, a very calm, relaxed woman. So I might say long blonde hair. So I've used an expanded noun phrase here. Noun is my hair, and I've got adjectives here to describe it. Deep blue eyes, soft pale skin. So I'm describing a very calm, relaxed, happy character here. When we do dystopia, we think about characters from dystopian fiction like The Hunger Games and Maze Runner. Our characters aren't going to be, they're going to be a little bit less physically perfect because they'll have some sense of deprecation. Or you might want to introduce a villain into your narrative, because we know in dystopian fiction there's a lot of corrupt governments, etc. So you don't have to describe a main character, a good character. You could describe an evil, corrupt leader maybe, and so your expanded noun phrases are going to be very different. Okay, so your turn now. So pause the video here and have a go. So verbs to show what a character is doing. So really think about what type of character that you're introducing here, that you're thinking about. And noun phrases. So again, think about how you're going to describe that character. Are they going to be someone that your reader is going to warm to? Are they going to be someone that your reader isn't necessarily going to be like? And for the shine, I'd like you to use an extended metaphor to describe your character. So start thinking about things that you can compare your character to. So pause the video here and have a go. Okay, good. So hopefully that you've got some verbs here and noun phrases that are really going to help with your description. So here's my example. So in this opening, you can see I've used descriptive sentences, but I've also intertwined them with narrative sentences, and they're highlighted in red. So my descriptive sentences are very similar to that I used before, but now I've just popped my narrative sentences in, and I've looked at what I've done, and I've thought about where I can put narration in. So the sparkling vivid lake gleamed beneath the radiant sun. Like an emerald jewel, the shimmering water was enclosed by a majestic green forest. Now I've decided to put a narrative sentence in to break the description up. As she gazed into the lake, a sense of calm washed over her. The long carpet of soft, luscious grass stretched out for miles, and now some more narration describing what my character is doing. She took a deep breath and took in the scene around her. Now I'm back to description, describing the scene. Gracefully, a magnificent peacock strutted carelessly across the ground. Creatures like this roamed freely in paradise. Now more narration, breaking it up again. She was lying on the ground, watching the serene scene unfold in front of her. She closed her eyes and started to fall asleep. So you can see I've used those verbs that I thought of earlier to put into my narrative description. So lying, watching, closed her eyes, and fall asleep. Now I've done the shine, I've used my extended metaphor. So I've used the framework I used before for my extended metaphor in the previous lesson, and I've compared my character to that gentle feeling of calm. So she was a feeling of calm that soothed everything around her. She was serene, gentle, and tranquil. She breathed deeply and relaxed as she contentedly sighed. So the adjectives and verbs that I've used in this extended metaphor all compare my character to calm. So calm is serene, gentle, tranquil. And when we're feeling calm, we often breathe in deeply and we relax. So new paragraph here because I've moved on to a different part of the scene and more description. In the distance, the beautiful wilderness of huge trees and wildflowers sat silently while a family of tropical birds soared overhead. Now more narration to break it up. She squinted carefully so she could see them better. The calm, serene creatures floated above paradise. Nothing could be heard except the whisper of a gentle breeze. And now I've ended my opening paragraph on more narration. So when I do my next paragraph, it leads in really nicely to what my character is doing. She took a deep breath and lay back down, which leaves us really nicely to move on. Now, it's really important to intertwine your narrative and descriptive sentences, because if you use a whole paragraph of just description or a whole paragraph of just narration, it can be really boring. So this just makes it more interesting for your reader. So I've done descriptive sentences and I've intertwined them with narrative sentences. I've also used lots of sensory language. I've talked about what my character can see, hear. You might want to do smell, touch, and taste. And I also want you to use key vocabulary that we did at the beginning of this video, which I haven't used because it's not relevant to mine, because it's utopia, but those adjectives, derelict and squalid, are going to be really useful in yours. And I've used an extended metaphor. I've compared my character to that feeling of calm. So your turn now. I'll keep my example there so you can see what I've done. You've got a success criteria here, shine, extended metaphor to describe your character. And this would be really effective if you were doing a villain, a corrupt leader, because there's lots of things that are negative that you can compare that character to. So I'll leave this here, have a go, send it through to me for feedback. You can upload it to Google Classroom, email it to me, or you can handwrite it and take a picture of it. And I'm really looking forward to seeing some of your examples. Okay, thank you for watching. Bye-bye.